Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Mark and I thank you so much for coming by today. Now you can see this vase here. This was made by my friend Matt, and this is what I keep a bunch of coffee beans in, and then inside of that I put in my favorite watercolor paintbrushes. Now this is not my entire collection. These are just the favorites that I have on hand right on my desk, and like you, I probably have 1,000 paintbrushes kicking around, many that I just put in boxes and I don't even use anymore because they're cheap and they're old and they just don't do the job that I want. But I can't get rid of them, so I keep them in storage. But like you also, there's a number of brushes and paint supplies and just all kinds of art products that I use that I keep around, and I may not use them on a regular basis, but I still love to have them on hand. A lot of things I keep to keep these other products fresh, like these paintbrushes. I'll use this cleaner. I use masking tape on my canvas to keep the edges clear. Even this pump spray I got at the dollar store. Now this is a recycled jar that I use for water. It's a jam jar, and this is an old cotton shirt that I cut up into swatches to use as my my dabbing cloth for my paintbrushes. Crate and Barrel, I got this for $3. That's my paint palette, and of course, recycled candle jars. So I'm always looking for the perfect products, and that's what this discussion is about today, and we'll get into that right after this quick coffee break. For years I've been searching for the perfect paintbrush, and these silver black velvet brushes have popped up in lots of reviews, blogs, and videos I've seen, so I've been curious to check them out. But what constitutes the perfect paintbrush? Well, there's a lot to consider, but first and foremost, it's the bristles. Whenever I get a new brush, I perform a simple test on my hand. I wash the brush in water to remove the preserver from the bristles, and then I run the brush across my finger in the back of my hand, squeezing the bristles to get a better, more tactile feel for them in order to understand if they're going to be too soft, too stiff, or just right for the kind of work I do. But there's more to a perfect paintbrush than just the bristles. There's the body of the brush as well. Whether the body is made from wood, plastic or acrylic, or even metal, each has a unique hand to it. And by hand, I mean the feeling you get when you're holding the paintbrush. The shape, the weight, and the texture of the brush are all important factors. Some brushes have a round body, some are heavy, some have a triangular shape with sides, and some brushes have textured grips, and while these may seem like benefits, they can sometimes be a drawback as well. But like any new tool, the best way to test these is to actually put them to work. So I'm using a Panoramic Handbook Watercolor Journal, which I really enjoy. As you can see, it's terrific for painting across the 16-inch spread to get some really fun results. I'll start by using the new black velvet brushes I bought to see how the feel of the natural and synthetic hybrid bristles respond. They're made from squirrel hair blended with a nylon synthetic fiber, and while I have lots of brushes, I don't have anything like these. From the hand test I did before, I could tell right away these brushes would hold a lot of water, which is something I expect from a natural brush, not a synthetic. But even though they still hold a lot of water, they maintain their form and keep their shape well, like a synthetic brush. What this tells me is that these brushes will carry a lot of pigment and hold their shape on the paper without puddling or delivering too much water unintentionally. From just this basic test, I'm enjoying these brushes. They rebound from an application and still hold a good amount of color. I do wonder though how these will compare to other brushes, specifically a pure natural brush and a pure synthetic brush. So let's find out. First, I'll try an Isabey Natural 100% Sable brush. This natural hair brush is really soft and holds a lot of water. The body feels a lot like the black velvet paintbrushes and balances nicely in my hand. Now this is a number 10 brush, so it will hold slightly more water than the number 8 black velvet, which is fine for a test like this. I'll just keep in mind that a number 10 black velvet paintbrush will hold a bit more water. Next, I'll try a fully synthetic Raphael Kaerrel number 10 brush, which also holds a good amount of water, but not as much as the Isabey. Like most synthetic brushes, it's not as soft as a natural brush, and the pigment application is a lot denser. Something I've noticed about synthetic brushes is that they can sometimes take more paint out of a pan than a natural brush. This could be that the synthetic bristles are more firm and have a harshly cut end, or because they're stiff and I have to use more pressure to get the paint out. For the final test, I want to use these black velvet brushes in a real-world application to see how I would use them on a typical spot illustration. So I prepared these little cactus drawings using my Faber-Castell Pitt pens that I had from my last video, knowing they'd be waterproof and good for this demonstration. I'm using all 4 brushes in this painting in order to get a feel for each of them and the consistencies and differences between them. I also wanted to mention some friends' videos to check out to get other perspectives on these brushes as well if you're considering buying them. My friend Steve over at The Mind of Watercolor shares his thoughts and expertise on these brushes and more. I've put a link to his video in the description below. Teoh, who always has fantastic reviews, did a great job reviewing these brushes on his channel as well. Meow Kapow is a friend who turned me on to the Panoramic Handbook Journal, and she has a great review of the unique Louise Moyer set of these brushes. And Denise at In Liquid Color shared her 10 favorite brushes, including these, so check out her review as well. Again, I've included links to their videos in the description below, so I hope you'll check out their channels as well. So, are these black velvet brushes the perfect paintbrushes? Well, first of all, there's no such thing as the perfect paintbrush, even though I keep searching for it. But I have to say, these have a lightweight wood body with a metal ferrule that lends a very good front-end weight to keep the brush balanced in my hand. All these brushes feel great between my fingers, and I can easily twist them and turn them while I paint without thinking. Trust me, it's no fun when you're painting to twist your brush around and get stuck on a sticky label or a UPC code. The bristles responded better on all the brushes than I was expecting, loading easily and remaining bouncy on the paper. One thing that might keep these from being the perfect paintbrush is that they actually hold nearly as much water as a natural brush. And that might sound like a good thing, but I was hoping they'd fit more between a natural and a synthetic, not having as much water. I found I had to tap the loaded brush on a dab cloth to let out some of the excess water. The bristles held their point really well, like a synthetic, and I was able to work in small areas with a lot of paint without having to reload. So, while they may not be the perfect paintbrushes, they're pretty close to being the most perfect brushes in my collection. I'm already looking forward to using them on a regular basis and hoping they'll maintain to become my go-to brushes. What I'd really like to see is how these brushes will perform in a year or two after some extensive use. For now, they're the kind of brush I've been looking for, to bridge the gap between natural and synthetic brushes, which I already have. They're not cheap, but they're not outrageously expensive either. They cost roughly about $10 to $15 each on Amazon. Now, as with any new brush I buy, I find it important to run it through the cleaning process after the first use to help keep it clean and keep the shape intact. I use the Masters Cleaner and Preserver to keep my brushes in good shape, but if budget's an issue, you can always just use an ordinary bar of ivory soap. To dry my brushes upside down, I crafted this homemade drying rack, which I used from a discarded tissue box. I just cut out some legs and put some holes through it, and this allows me to push the paintbrushes through upside down and keep the brushes dry and keep the water out of the ferrule, that metal piece that holds the bristles together. Well, I hope this video was helpful for you in sharing thoughts on these brushes. As I said before, check out the videos of my friends. They have some really great things to add to these brushes and their thoughts, and I hope it helps you if you're considering buying these brushes. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll subscribe to the channel for more reviews and discussions like this. And as always, I'd love to hear your experiences with these brushes in the comments below. Stay well, and as always, keep creating, and God bless.